Hi, and welcome back to another Tech Talk. Today's talk will focus on beginner editing with Adobe Premiere Pro. Now let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open Premiere. Now a double click should do it, but if it doesn't, you're going to right click and hit Open while you hover above the icon. And then you will select New Project. So now we're going to name our project file. And the very next thing that we're going to do, and it's one of the most important things that we'll do during this project, we are going to pick a location for our project. And now once you have your location, you are going to hit Create. And now you're going to hit Edit when it opens. So what you'll see is a timeline at the bottom, your program up at the top, which will be where your video sits. And you will also see various different sorts of things to the left, which, depending on what you click, may be another video monitor, color grading graph, or any of the sort. And we're going to go through some of those today. Okay, so now that we've done that, what we're going to do is organize our clips into bins. So A-roll, B-roll, and you can think of A-roll and B-roll like we think of actors. An A-list actor is more than a B-list. So your B-list roll is going to be the things that you use secondary. Your A-list is your primary video footage. Okay, so for our A-roll, we're going to open to a video of Dr. Yarborough. And then here, this is where we find various sorts of different shots, which will be our B-roll. So once we have that stuff, we're going to drag the clip of Dr. Yarborough into our timeline. And I want you to pay attention to the way Dr. Yarborough looks. It's gray, washed out. You can't really see the chapel in the back. It all looks very gray, blue. What we're going to do is show you how to fix that today. Okay, so first, we're going to show you how to make a simple cut. So you're going to take your razor tool, and that's going to be on the left-hand side. And this is a good way to shorten your video or chop off some of the rough ends. So when you start and finish a video, you almost certainly have to, and hit clear.
Greetings, friends.
So then you're going to take that and make sure that it starts at the beginning of the video. But we're also going to need a soft open. So you're going to go down to your effects, your video transitions, and you're going to go to dissolve. And you're going to hit cross dissolve. And then what you're going to want to do is bring that to the back end of the video as well.
25.
And that will both open and close your video in a very succinct and definite way.
Greetings, friends.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is apply the constant power fade for the smooth audio transitions. This makes sure that the audio intro matches your video intro and is also smooth and in order.
Greetings, friends. Welcome to the first chapel of 20.
And now you're going to want to keep watching your video over and over again to make sure everything aligns. Okay, now to our overlay B-roll. So Dr. Yarborough is walking us to chapel. If you're a student at another seminary, maybe you've never seen what our chapel looks like. Well, that's the perfect opportunity for us to show you our chapel using B-roll. So our B-roll is dragged over to the top, and it is scaled properly to make sure we get the zoom effect. And it's cut down and just directly laid over the top of where we want it. And it's also given a cross dissolve so that it comes in and goes out at the proper time. Just like we did before, the front and at the end.
Greetings, friends. Welcome to the first chapel. Greetings, friends. welcome to the first chapel of 2025. Though I regret not being with
Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is work on our color. So you'll see that the chapel footage looks a little overblown and Dr. Yarbrough looks a little washed out. Well, we can fix that. So you're going to select your B-roll and go over and select your Lumetri color. And then you're going to want to affect your temperature, your tint, your saturation. Typically, hopefully, if there's something with the color white in the shot, you can choose it. Select your pen and hit it. In this particular case, there kind of isn't. So you want to go over to your temperature. And now you're going to play with these things until it looks right. You want your subject to look as human as possible. And as we can see, Dr. Yarbrough's color begins to come back and the building behind him begins to be in focus. And now the other thing you're going to look at is your Lumetri scopes. So you're going to want to look at your graph and make sure that your colors are actually going up and down in a wavy sort of motion. They want to be stretched out. If they look like a rectangle or they're crushed, we haven't done the job right. And so now we've got a good motion going and you can see the difference. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing to our B-roll shot. And there's nothing wrong with trying to white balance a shot with no white items in it, but sometimes it can throw it off a little bit more than usual. And our contrast is brought up and the temperature is also affected so you can see before and after. All right. So that's what we call simple coloring. And it can get way more complicated than that, but this will do for most of our needs. Okay, now you're going to want to check your audio levels. And you're going to open up your audio meters. Get as close as you can. Or more simply, what I actually would prefer is stretching out your audio to part of your timeline. So now I can see my audio waves. I can also see the little line that's down there and I can raise it up or bring it down, and that adjusts your audio throughout your whole entire project. And you want to make sure that your audio doesn't go into the red because that means it's too loud. You want to hit green and definitely yellow. And you can also test these things out by listening and making the necessary adjustments. Okay, so now that we've taken care some of the big stuff, let's also talk about how to do a lower third. So say you're sending this video off and nobody knows who Dr. Yarbrough is. Well, you're going to need a lower third. You're going to go to your graphics template and then your basic lower third. And then you can simply type his name into that space on the screen. Okay. So if you need to add something to the background so that it is not such a white on white picture, and you are going to hit your background and give it something opaque in the back and solid and adjust it as you need to. Then that way the text pops off of the screen and away from your actual subject. All right. You also want to give your lower third a proper crossfade and a cross dissolve intro and outro so that it is timed in the proper way. Your lower third should be no longer than 5 to 10 seconds. It probably should go when the speaker initially starts talking so that it doesn't come up as a distraction.
Though I regret not being with you today in person for this opening chapel, please know that I am.
Just like that. Now, most importantly is how do we export? So you're going to go up to File, Export Media. If you want to rename your video, this is the time. And you may name it something like My Final Project Version 2, etc. So that way you can make sure that you can identify your video. And then when you want to decide finally on your actual location, if you are working on a school computer, you're going to want to invest in an external hard drive. You're going to hit Save once you've done that. Your preset is fine at H.264, and your preset 1080p will be your best friend. Yes, 4K does look better, but most of the time, people don't have the capability to play it. And then make sure that when it is time to export, you select the entire source. If you don't, sometimes you'll only get part of a video, and that can be challenging. And then you'll hit export. And Premiere Pro will actually show you how long it's going to take. If you're doing anything that's more than 2 minutes, you're going to want to walk away for a little bit because it's going to take a while. But in this case, with about 1.5 minutes, only a couple of seconds. Okay, as you see here, we are still waiting. So then Premiere will tell you your video was successfully exported, and you will go to a pathway that it gives you. And so once we click into that pathway, and now we have almost a 2-minute video.
Greetings, friends. Welcome to the first chapel of 2025. Though I regret not being with you today in person for this opening chapel, please know that I am with you.
So Adobe Premiere will be your best friend for all of the videos that you have, sermons, anything that you need. We hope this talk was helpful. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you at the next Tech Talk.